Hey guys, my name is Elvira and you are on Lingua Cocktail channel. I speak about learning foreign languages and life abroad, occasionally about multilingual parenting. Today I wanted to speak about why you haven't learned that language. When you watch videos of polyglots, of people who speak several foreign languages, you might think that they are superhumans, they are gifted and talented, and learning languages is the only thing they do. Of course, there are polyglots for whom learning the language is their work, is their main activity, and they share their strategies and passion for learning languages, and they can become your tutors and your guides into effective language learning. I am not that polyglot who has learned language for fun. I am the polyglot who learned the languages out of necessity and also because I've been motivated in the process. I speak 5 languages, 2 of them as my mother tongue, and 3 I have learned along the way while living abroad, living in those countries, and interacting with natives. But still, when somebody learns that I speak 5 languages, they think that I am somehow more talented than they who are trying to master just one language. I have tried to learn many more languages that led nowhere. One of the languages I have studied for 10 years. Let's dive into that and see what are the reasons behind that some languages don't stick. I will start with the languages that I devoted a bit less time than the one that I learned for 10 years, and I cannot speak it. When I lived in Poland, in Białystok, there was a school of Esperanto. You could go for free courses and have this kind of little community of Esperanto learners because Białystok is the hometown of Esperanto creator Zamenhof. And back then I was willing to start to learn a new language. I already spoke Latvian, Russian, and Polish and English, and I thought I have time to dive into new language since I have this kind of natural interest in languages. We went several times for the meetings and the courses, and I've been doing independent studying with materials that I got, but somehow the spark was not there. I couldn't understand why I am so low motivated. Now I know that it's easily explainable. First of all, Esperanto is a created language, and you cannot just expose yourself to the speakers. You cannot just reach for it. You cannot just go out and practice it. I've never been this kind of online person that it would be enough for me to practice language skills just in online community. I feel that I need the environment and that I can get a book in that language, the book that I actually want to read. I don't know anything about Esperanto community nowadays because I speak about Esperanto of 10 years ago. I have a feeling that this is for people who are really passionate about those self-created languages, to belonging to this kind of secret community because you can, have meetings, you gather up somewhere, and then you speak the language that nobody else does. And there is something about it, but I never felt it. I never got into that. At some point, I just gave up on Esperanto. Same was with Greek, Spanish, Swedish, that I first started to learn on Duolingo when Duolingo was just a new thing. To Greek language, I gave more attention because I was excited that it's a completely new alphabet, and since I know Russian, which is also a different alphabet from the Latin one, that I will have a knowledge of a third alphabet. And again, I started to study an alphabet and A1 level basis, but again, I lost motivation and I couldn't see where does it lead. And now when I'm reflecting on that, I understand that there was no particular why attached to the language. I didn't know why I am learning that or those languages. I was not planning to move to the country. I was not planning to visit the country for longer. I didn't have anyone around who would be a native speaker of those languages. I was not a big fan of anything that is expressed on those languages, not movie directors, no music band. I didn't even actually know any creator in those languages. There was completely nothing connected to those languages I tried to learn for me to keep up the motivation and fuel my language learning discipline. For some people, this is not an obstacle. When they decide to study a language, like many hyper polyglots do, they find what to consume during those studies. They find creators, they find music, they find movies, and this is very exciting, I know, but it doesn't work for me. I am this practical person who studies the language out of necessity, and when necessity meets motivation, then that's the fuel that keeps me engaged, keeps me motivated. And now I would like to tell you about the language that I've been studying for exactly 10 years. And now I can say some words, some phrases, that if the native of that language will tell about the experience where I was involved with him or her, then I will know what they speak about. But unfortunately, that's it. And that language is German. Why I have failed so much with German language? First of all, I started to study it in school as my first foreign language, and my mother decided on my behalf what foreign language I am going to study. We had a choice to pick English or German. It was beginning of 90s. I think from where I come, people couldn't still predict that English is gonna be main international language, so my mother decided to choose German because she's been studying German. If the first year was very successful, I liked the teacher, I liked to getting to know a new language. The teacher was really passionate about Germany. She shared a lot of experiences about the country and the language. But as soon as she retired and we started to have new teachers changing one another and practicing just passive skills, and that's the biggest reason behind failing any language out there you can learn. If you practice only passive skills, you never try to speak, and you never try to speak spontaneously using the knowledge you just got, it's not gonna lead you anywhere. So just from there, it went downhill. We were never having conversations. I could not answer the question just spontaneously without looking into paper and reading it. That's first thing. Another thing connected with the age. Since it was not my choice to study the language, and the teachers were not inspiring us with anything connected to the language, I myself, at that age, couldn't see the reason and the motivation behind it. I didn't yet think about the world behind my home country, or even my hometown, or even my school. This concept of places where the language is spoken was really vague. I never imagined that someday when I'm an adult, I could travel somewhere, because I grew up in 90s. Political, economical situation in my home country was so tough that there was nobody really speaking about global experiences, and the teachers failed to inspire us with the stories from abroad. So it all seemed very far dream that it's unreachable. I've never got inspired to learn German. I never got the reason to try, even though I've been always a good student and I really cared for my grades. I believe this is the reason why many of us after graduation from school don't really speak the language. We've been studying there since we were, I don't know, 8 years old until we were 18. So my guess is the reason why you haven't managed to learn a language is because you were not practicing all language skills, which is passive skills and active skills. Passive skills as reading and listening, and active skills as writing and speaking, because speaking language is knowing language. You've been focusing only on passive skills like reading and listening, or you never had a reason behind learning the language. There was no reason attached to the language. You had just an idea that it would be nice to know the language, but you couldn't find a motivation for daily discipline or keeping up the structure to learn it, because you were not exposed to the language. You were not creating an immersion into language because there was nothing that would be interesting for you in that language or the culture. If you are a person who likes to practice the language only in live setting, it might be hard for you to learn the language online and look for an online community. That's why for many people it is more difficult to study the language if they are not in a native environment. There are certain people who are claiming that the only reason for you not being able to learn the language is age, that some magical age number prevents you from memorizing words. When you turn 30 or when you turn 40, you cannot anymore learn a language or probably any other new skill. This is not supported by research. This is just a false belief that is based on somebody's personal experience. The research says that you might not be able to master a native-like pronunciation when you start to learn the language in your older age, when you are, let's say, 40 plus, because you were not growing up in native environment. But it doesn't ever prevent you from learning that language fluently if you just follow the structure, you have a motivation, you are exposed to environment, and you are just willing to put effort into that. So if somebody tells you that you cannot learn the language because you are older, don't believe them. They are talking about themselves. Language learning is not reserved only for talented and gifted people who are grinding and doing nothing else but learning the language. Language learning is possible for everyone, but you have to know why do you want to know it. You have to have some kind of motivation, and you need to find a structure that suits your lifestyle and follow it consistently. See you next time.